You're listening to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans.
If you want to have guarantees, you have to buy a washing machine.
Fonte with a scooping
We don't lose a match, either we win or we learn. And today we learned.
Отдача, Остин! Все-таки забил!
It's infield to Bene, 25 yards out. Lovely ball for Bella. Onside, 1-0! Buffon shot! Oh my word!
Unbelievable. He ran around the pitch like Bambi on ice. Really very, very embarrassing to watch.
And now, your host, Matt Markstone.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast, a podcast and newsletter dedicated to the Southampton Football Club and all of the SFC fans. Available right here on southamptondelivery.com. My name is Matt Markstone. I am the host of the show, and no matter where you are, no matter how you may be listening, whether this is your first time or you've been here before, thanks for making the show part of your day. I hope that you enjoy it. And finally, football is back. Saints are back in action. And in many ways, it was like we never left. The road form continues, a little bit of a slow start, but once things got going, of course, it was an easy looking-ish 3-0 victory. And just like the Premier League getting back underway this week, we had a couple of technical issues. You're going to have a little bit of differentiation between the natural and enhanced sound this week, because you're going to get the natural sounds of things going on in the house, but that is okay, because at the end of the day, although I prefer natural, enhanced works sometimes. On this week's show, we have Bene, who is on Twitter at Italian Saint, and he's the author of the Saints FC blog. And that's actually what kind of got me interested in getting him on the show, is reading his writing, getting his take. And so he lives in Italy. We'll talk about how he became a Saints fan and all of that over the course of the interview. And then we'll get to the actual Saints game, which, of course, I think we will all, we're all feeling pretty good about. I think we're all probably feeling all right about playing Arsenal on Thursday. So just keep our fingers crossed that everything seems to be going the way that Arsenal go at this point in the season. So thank you once again for joining the show. I am really excited to have the Premier League back, to have Saints back. And I only can hope that you were all well, and that if you were celebrating Father's Day earlier this week, or last weekend, I should say, I hope that you had a good day. I had the wonderful opportunity to catch up with one of the patrons of the show, Dave Lee from Bakersfield. So, Dave, it's a pleasure to see you in person again, although we can't go see the USL team we normally see because they don't exist anymore. But anyway, that's a different story. Let's get to the show this week. Bene, Holley at Italian Saint. Links in the show notes to all of the Twitter account, the blog, and everything else. And we'll talk to you on the other side. So we'd like to welcome to the Southampton Delivery Podcast, Bene Holley. He is an Italian Saints fan living in the north of Italy, but has supported Saints for quite some time. Has a blog called the Saints FC blog. You can find him on Twitter at Italian Saint. And links to all those things are in the show notes, so you should go give him a follow. And Bene, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking some time to join me. And thank you for putting up with the delay here this morning. I really appreciate it.
Hello, Mark. It's a pleasure that you invited me to your podcast. I'm really happy to join you.
Oh yeah, I appreciate it. It's my pleasure to talk to fans from all over the world, and I'm interested in everything from how you became a Saints fan and all that stuff. But I mean, we also have a win to talk about, and it's the first time that Saints have played in 3 months. So it's been a while since we got to actually watch Southampton play. But before we get to any of that, let's talk about you real quick. So just first off, how are you? You live in the north of Italy. It was fairly hard hit by the coronavirus and the lockdown, and just how are things in Italy right now?
Most things are slowly getting back to normality. Not all of the things, but the government is slowly opening things like shops, bars, and restaurants, one step at a time. Milan, which is not that far from where I live, was hit very hard by the coronavirus. But here, I'm happy that things are safer.
Yeah, Yeah. Do you live in like a small town, or do you live in a fairly large city?
No, I live in a small town. It's called Bassano del Grappa. It's near to Vicenza
Okay.
and near Venice.
All right. All right. So it's you watch Italian football as well? You have a team you support?
No, not at the moment, but I always watch it online on my computer on some websites which offer the matches. And well, I don't watch that much Italian football. If I were to watch some football, I'd watch some Premier League football when Saints are not playing.
Okay. All right. And so the question's going to come up, and we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but how do you, living in Italy, wind up supporting Southampton? What's your connection to the city?
Well, Bassano has not got a very important team. It's not one of the top teams here in Italy. So my dad was born in Southampton, so I decided to support Southampton even because when I started watching football, Southampton matches were the first thing I've ever watched, and I got passionate about the club.
Okay. All right. And so your dad then moved to Italy at some point, and now you guys live. I've just Googled, the city. It looks really nice, on Google Maps at least.
Yeah.
It looks like on the kind of near the Alps, near Venice. I mean, not a bad situation. But your dad got you into it. Your dad got you into the stuff, and he still watch the matches now. You guys sit and watch them together.
Yes, absolutely. We watch Southampton matches together. He watches it with me, and we always talk about the match at halftime. We share our thoughts, and we really both like the club.
That's awesome. And then so how did he feel, the last couple of years when things weren't going so well? Was he kind of upset, or did it, because I think sometimes living outside of Southampton, when things don't go well, it's easier probably just to ignore it and just check back in when things are better. But was he complaining about the manager or the team or anything like that over the last couple of years?
Well, he was, but not that much. I was unhappier because like the EFL Cup final against Manchester United. Not that it was a Claude Puel's fault, but I thought his style of play was not really the best, because we also had the Koeman's experience before that, and Koeman's style of play was like the best we've ever had. Yeah.
I think Pochettino and Koeman, that was part of what drew me to the team as well, is just watching them. They were fun to watch. The team was exciting. And, I think people who were coming to the Premier League slightly after that, especially from outside of Southampton, if you were living elsewhere like you and I are, watching Claude Puel and Pellegrino, pass the ball around behind the back four or five, it doesn't really draw you in, and so I miss that. And now I think we have that excitement back, which is good. And I mean, now we haven't had football in however long, and now we have a win and a fairly emphatic victory actually to talk about. So that must have been nice to welcome the team back and actually see a victory. But did you guys get to sit down and watch the match live in Italy that night?
Yeah. We watched the match, and I really enjoyed it.
Yeah. We'll get to that in a second, but I want to ask you. You started the blog. What made you start the Saints FC blog? What kind of pushed you to try and write about it and do that?
Well, in the lockdown, I found out I had some spare time, so I could find a new hobby. So I decided to write about the club I'm passionate about, and I decided to write my opinions, and but not. What makes my blog different from the others is that I give my thoughts and my point of view from a long distance from Italy, from where I see it.
Yeah. Do you think does it make it easier or more or harder for you to write about? Do you think being removed from Southampton?
Well, if I lived in Southampton, it would obviously be easier for me to write, there about Southampton, but in Italy, yeah, it's not that difficult, but yeah, I can deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I think being removed from the city sometimes gives you a different perspective, just because, it's easier to distance myself if there's something happening around the club where everybody's getting really worked up. I can just shut Twitter off and just, kind of not ignore it, but not have to be involved in it. Whereas I think because I know I don't walk down the street and people ask me about Southampton all the time or want to talk about transfers or what's going on with Højbjerg's contract. Like, if I don't want to talk about that, I don't have to. I have to go find somebody to talk about it with. So I don't know if that. Sometimes I feel like that helps because I'm not consumed by it if I need to concentrate on other things. But at the same time, it also makes it harder because I don't hear as many opinions on it unless I go and find them. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You find the same thing, or is your dad kind of constantly talking to you about it?
No. I mean, I talk to him about it mostly. Yeah, I think I talk about it too much, and yeah, Southampton is a great club, and I don't find why I can't live the dream and support them and be passionate about the club. Writing my blog, It's amazing.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad you decided to start it. I'm glad you agreed to come on the show because it's nice to just be able to talk to you about it and hear about it and read along with you as you go on writing. So thanks for doing that. Yeah, I was going to ask now, like, coming into the restart, what were your kind of expectations for the club? I mean, we're sitting kind of mid-table. We weren't technically safe. I guess we're still not technically safe, but we're close. What were your thoughts coming into the restart? Where do you think kind of Saints were going to do over the 9 games they had to play?
Well, I think all of their performance they're going to show is based on how they managed to cope during this difficult time, how they managed to train and how they managed to keep fit. So it's all based on how all of the Premier League clubs have trained during this period and how they managed to keep up with their fitness. So I think Southampton, as they shown in the Norwich match, they might be ready to take on Arsenal, Man United, Everton, and all of the matches we still have to play.
Yeah, definitely some tough matches coming, right? Like, I think they went ahead and put our match against City, I think, on the BBC, free to air in the UK, which means, the entire country is going to tune in to that, or they're. I mean, last time we played on a Friday night prior to Norwich, it wasn't great. So now, people will probably be looking and seeing what that's going to look like, and we'll have a couple questions on that. So we'll get to that later. But yeah, I mean, I think fitness is going to be a huge issue, and just with so many games to be played in such a short period of time, and the effort that Hasenhüttl's system kind of requires, I was a little bit worried as to how that was going to happen. But I mean, Saints looked really good on Friday. I can't complain about that at all. All right, well, let's jump into the match then, and we'll talk. Start with the team sheet. It was McCarthy, Valerie, Stevens, Bednarak, and Bertrand in goal, and then across the defense, Ward-Prowse and Højbjerg in the middle of midfield, Armstrong, Redmond, and then Ings and Obafemi because Long was out injured. I mean, anybody in there a surprise, or were you upset that anybody was in position the way they were? Or did you kind of expect that team to be the team that was chosen?
Well, I thought that was going to be the team. I also thought that Valerie was going to be more reliable than Kyle Walker-Peters. So I thought Ralph would play Kyle Walker-Peters in this match and then play Valerie in the Arsenal match to give them a turn. But then, given his performance in the match, it wasn't too bad, but wasn't too great to see him play.
We're talking about Valerie, right?
Yeah. And I also expected that Højbjerg was not captain of the match, and because he did renew his contract, and Ralph already sent him a message, as I saw in the news.
Yeah, when I saw that, I mean, were you surprised by the move to include Højbjerg? I saw some people kind of thinking that maybe he wouldn't even get in the team based on that, but I didn't get that impression. I thought that the captaincy's been removed from him because of the contract negotiations and how he's kind of made his intentions clear. He would like to go elsewhere. That's fine.
Yeah.
But were you surprised to have him in the team actually?
Well, at first I was a little surprised because I thought he would play like Romeo and put Højbjerg on the bench. But then I thought so that was not the most important part. The most important part was that we have one of the most important players playing for the team in that lineup.
Yeah. That's, for me, I want the best players in the team in their position, right? Like I think that's the most important, especially, I mean, unless Højbjerg would have shown that he's not committed, and I don't think anything in his actions during the match or even offline, even saying that he wants to go, I still kind of had the feeling that he would be committed to playing for Saints right now. Like he's going to have to earn that move if he wants to go somewhere where he's going to have a chance to win trophies, right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
I mean, so I think for me that was those were the two kind of big shocks. It was who was going to play for either Valerie or Kyle Walker-Peters, and I think I predicted Kyle Walker-Peters to play. But Valerie was in, and we'll talk about his performance as we go on. And then Højbjerg, I thought would be there. And I guess maybe it was either going to be Obafemi or Adams, but I think if you look back at the friendly that was played, Obafemi played, I think, started along Ings in that, and so I think that just showed kind of where that is. And I thought Obafemi had a decent enough game, just trying to support Ings in attack, and had a nice. I think he had played a part in the first goal where it kind of, I think he shielded somebody from the ball, and then Armstrong took it, passed it to Ings, and the first goal was created from that. So overall, I can't really complain about the formation or anything else, because I think we all knew it was going to be 4-2-2-2. There's no reason to change that for Ralph at this point.
Yeah, no reasons at all.
Ralph did sign the new contract over the break, and I guess we can kind of talk about that just a little bit. Like, what was your reaction to that when you found out that Ralph signed the new 4-year agreement?
Well, I was obviously caught by surprise because I did not think Ralph's contract lasted so little time, I was surprised but also excited. He's a great manager. He saved us last year from relegation, and I don't see why not have him as next manager for the next 4 years or more.
Did you think that he would do that, or do you think that it's, because I kind of feel like we are getting the best from him right now, in terms of we're making out better on this deal than he is, where I think he could have potentially gone somewhere else. But I'm quite happy that he's decided to stay, and I think that I don't know, I'm really happy with it, and I hope that this means he's committed to sticking around and making something at Southampton rather than just passing through like I think we've seen other people do in the past.
No, he has a very important relationship with the players and the staff. So yes, great to have him as a manager for the next 4 years, unless he doesn't leave for a new club.
Yeah, I don't know that just because he has a 4-year contract doesn't mean he's going to stay the whole time. But we'll see how he kind of how he does. But I think it's an encouraging sign for him, and I think that gives some stability to the team, because I think for so long we've not been sure of who was going to be the manager and how things were going to go, and that means that players find it difficult to kind of settle in. And so now, hopefully, this means more consistency in the style of play and with the players and everything else, and that will kind of calm some of the players down. And maybe it doesn't mean that Højbjerg is going to stay, but maybe it means that we'll have a better chance of attracting some players to come play in this system and kind of make their mark. So I'm quite happy with that whole thing.
Yeah.
Jumping into the match, I mean, the first 20 minutes, I was nervous before the match just because I hadn't seen Saints play in so long. I think this is probably the longest we've gone between matches for Saints in a long time. I'm not doing the exact math, but I feel like it might even be longer than some of the summer breaks, or at least close. And to sitting down and looking at where Norwich are on the table, you realize they needed a win, right? A draw doesn't really do them any good. They have to come out if they have any chance of staying up. And then the game starts and it doesn't start well. Like I felt like the first 10, 15, 20 minutes, we were really kind of pinned in, and there were some chances for Norwich. But what was your initial thought once the game started? How did you feel about what Saints were doing on the pitch?
Well, I thought Southampton, at the start of the game, the first few minutes, they were playing a little bit rusty, I have to say. As soon as they got a touch of the ball, they straight away, they lost possession, and it went on for like 5-10 minutes, and Norwich kept having the ball, passing it around our box, and having so many chances. But then we managed to keep the ball and create chances with it.
Yeah. I felt like once we survived that initial kind of flurry from the home team, and they did start well. Once we kind of, I think, got our bearings and things like that, we looked fine, and we looked, I guess I would say that after the water break, we looked a lot better. We settled down. We took control of the game. We kind of, and because they didn't get anything from that initial flurry that they had, I think that meant with no crowd there to back them up and nobody to push them on, I think the quality of Saints just kind of shone through. And even their better players, the players that people would know, like Pukki and Cantwell and some of these other guys, they didn't get as much into the game as you would have hoped. I think Pukki had a couple of chances, but was kind of denied by Bednarak and things like that. So, pretty good from Saints, I guess from there. I don't know. You can see if you looked at the notes, the first 15 minutes, I was pretty down about things. I thought that Armstrong could have been booked, I think, inside the first minute or two for that tackle. I think it was on Pukki, but were you surprised that we didn't have a booking early on from Armstrong and Bertrand, or were you kind of not surprised that the referee kind of let it go?
Yeah, I was surprised because Valerie obviously misjudged the pass, and he passed it straight to Pukki, and Armstrong obviously tried to stop him. But I have to say, I was not expecting Kevin Friend would take that decision.
Yeah, I kind of expected the yellow card to come out immediately, and just kind of went like, "Oh no, this isn't great." And I think at some point it cut to Ralph, and he's just not happy, and it's like, well, of course he's not happy. It's been a complete disaster so far.
Yeah.
I guess for you, what was the turning point in the game for you? Was it around the nutrition break that you found things started to get better? And I guess what part of the team, if there was anybody that kind of stood out to you, what part of the team really kind of, I guess, started to play better that brought it all together? Or was it just a whole kind of collective thing that the whole team just kind of, maybe got a pep talk from Ralph and then started to put it all together, I guess?
I thought they started all playing well together after the water break, and they started playing real football with maintaining possession without losing the ball, and without stupid mistakes, and it was all of the team who played well.
Yeah. So let's move on, because I mean the first half kind of, Norwich have it early on, I guess, from the not nutrition break, but water break on. I think we looked a lot better. No goals to come from it. I guess a couple of defensive performances to talk about. I think we had Ings working really hard a couple of times to, when they had corners and things like that, to make sure that nobody got shots away. And then I guess basically we get into halftime, and then after halftime, I don't think there was even a contest between the two teams. I thought it was mostly Saints after that.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a lot of chances from target. I think that the break at halftime really helped bring back confidence in all of the players. And I personally thought that the second half would have been goalless like the first half. I was not expecting a goal for either side, and I thought the match would have finished 0-0. They weren't playing. They were like playing well, but not too well to score a goal.
I think we were outshot in the first half 6-4. It was kind of a boring. I don't want to say boring, but it wasn't very clinical. If you kind of look at who had the shots for us, Ings hit the bar. He had another shot. Armstrong had that nice chance from the corner that was well worked, just not quite enough on the shot. And then Ward-Prowse had one. I think it was from a free kick. It was right at the keeper, I think. But then the second half, everything completely changes. The Saints went from having 4 shots in the first half to 18 in the second half, and I mean it's just an absolutely remarkable number. It was just a completely different game. It seemed like from the first.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Southampton changed their style of play. I think Ralph spoke to them in the dressing room, and he changed things around, but a lot. We never saw something like that in the first part of the season.
Right. It was encouraging, I think, to see the team come out and have, I think, the fitness to press on and play that way in the second half, and just really not back off. Like once we scored, we just kind of, Armstrong scored shortly after, and they never really seemed to just let off the gas, which I thought was fantastic, because so often we've seen if we do score and go ahead, we allow the other team to come back and kind of get back in the game. And honestly, I'm not probably comfortable until it's 3-0, and then I'm okay. Even at 2-0, it's like, well, if they score here, this could be really dangerous for us. But they just kept going, and it was fantastic. Once we were up 3-0, it was like, all right, I would just see this game out. We'll be fine, and bring on Arsenal on Thursday.
Yeah, it was great. A great way to return back to the Premier League.
Yeah. Let's go through the goals, I guess. 49 minutes in, I have to give my brother just walked in my house, but he had texted me before, like, Ings was going to score. I think he said in the 53rd minute was when Ings was going to open the scoring. And he texted me after the game. He's like, I only missed it by like 5 minutes. And I was like, you're right. I mean, that goal kind of comes almost out of nothing, and I still have no idea. I've watched the replay. I have no idea how Ings finds himself in that much space, and how nobody is even near him for that. It seemed like not great defending from Norwich, but also a really good finish from Ings.
Yeah, just from a throw-in, I think, and Obafemi managed to set him up with a clever through ball, and poor defending from Norwich, and Danny Ings manages to curl the ball. I'm surprised he had that much perfection after all this time, and he managed to find the top right corner.
Yeah, I thought the ball that he managed to put in was a great shot, because you have a couple of options. He could try to drag it across goal, but I think to curl it around the keeper like that, and I don't know, it's not unsavable, but it's darn close, and so I was really happy with that. And then almost kind of before I could even, finish typing an absurd, profanity-laden tweet, Armstrong doubled the lead, and it was also a really good move from him. I think you switch back and forth. I think the first goal, the official assist, came from Armstrong to Ings with the goal, and then the other way around for Armstrong's goal. I actually kind of thought he was going to shoot earlier, and then he chose just to hold on to the ball, and I think his shot goes through the defender's legs and kind of blinds the goalkeeper a little bit, and not hit overly hard, but hit the place just right down low into the corner, and we're up 2-0.
Yeah, it was a great goal. We saw 3 goals by him this season, I think, against Crystal Palace, which I think was a similar goal when he dribbles past the players, and then he decides to shoot out of nowhere. And surprise the defenders. And I'm really happy to see him score, because There was even a rumor that Celtic wanted to buy him, but I think he's a good lad and he will stay and score a lot of these goals.
Yeah, I was super I was really really pleased with how that all kind of worked out for him there. Um, would you say that? I mean, were you surprised to see him in the starting lineup? I guess with Armstrong, and I think has he justified a starting place going forward? Even I mean, obviously Ginebo is suspended, but do you think if he continues to play this way, that starting front four will basically stay Redmond, Armstrong, Ings, and then Long or Obafemi?
Yeah, I think so. It's a very solid lineup. It turned out to be in the second half. I think Armstrong is a very great player, and wasn't surprised to see him starting in the lineup. He always deserves that spot. He plays really well, and he's earned that spot even by playing well in the Bristol game when he scored 2 goals for Saints.
Yeah, I think that he brings a little bit more, I want to say, consistency to the team. He's not, if you think about Buffal and Gineppo, they are, really exciting, but also kind of inconsistent at times. And they have the ability to go, I don't want to say go missing, but I don't associate them with the necessarily just doing the hard work and the running and the things like that. And when I look at Armstrong, like, he's this pasty white dude from Scotland where you don't really think that he's going to be, he doesn't necessarily maybe excite you all the time, but he does everything you would want, and he's consistent. And he, if you kind of watch him in the first half, he was going and running and even attempting to win the ball back and press and things like that I just really appreciate. And I think he's probably has to stay in the lineup at this point. And I think the team will be better off for it, because I also think it frees up guys like Redmond to be a little bit more free, and Ings to do kind of what he was doing. So I think that front four really worked well together, especially in the second half, obviously with all the goals.
Yeah, absolutely. Armstrong is a crucial player to our team, and it would be very difficult without him.
Yeah. Let's. Just after that, kind of the game opened up. It went just from only a couple of shots in the first half to just being wildly open. Bednarak gave the ball away and then had to quickly recover to try to block Pukki's shot. And then Norwich did actually get the ball in the net, but there was an offside, so it was no goal there. And it was, I don't even think it was close. It was fairly obvious offside there, but a little bit nervy there because, like I said before, at 2-0, even if they get a goal back, we have this kind of the old anxieties came back for me of just worrying about, are we going to concede and kind of get ourselves in trouble? But it didn't happen. We got to the water break and it was all us. We were the people, we were the team that was in charge of the game. So to that point in the half, and I thought Redmond kind of looked really, really good after, especially in the second half. I thought I was really impressed with him. And then I was really glad to see him get his goal as well.
Yeah, I'm surprised he decided to take the shot there. It was not the perfect place to shoot, but he took the shot perfectly, and he helped Saints win against his former team with that beautiful shot delivered in the bottom right corner.
Before that, Redmond had done some good work to get free and then kind of laid it off to Bertrand, and I made the joke via text to some people that Bertrand put that shot where Norwich will be playing next year in the second tier, which I thought was probably poor from me, but that's okay. But yeah, you talk about Redmond's goal. Once again, not the best defending in Norwich. We should say we're missing several defenders. They have people out injured. They've been ravaged. The break hasn't helped them get fit enough again. And I just thought, Redmond didn't have to do much to create that space, and it was a little shoulder drop and then wide open and a good finish, but. I just didn't think that Norwich really defended that very well. And I don't want to take anything away from him because I thought his goal was was fine. Like, I want him to get on the score sheet and play with confidence, because I think watching Nathan Redmond with confidence is one of the things that I enjoy the most, when he's running at people and not afraid to make mistakes and do those things. And just for him to get that goal, I think hopefully that sets him on the right path now for the next few matches.
Yeah, it was great to see him back in form, because he was injured in the last month or two, and it was great. So I was surprised to see him in the starting lineup. I thought Hassan Hutel said he wasn't going to risk him, but then I also thought that Jennifer was not going to be in the starting lineup or on the bench.
Right.
So
yeah, I thought he did well in that. Unless there's anything else in the actual game play itself, any players you think need to be highlighted, let's move on towards the one of the things that I thought could have been maybe a little bit better for Saints, and that's going to be the substitutions. We made a lot of substitutions because you have the extra 2 substitutions you can make, as long as you only do it at 3 instances during the game and not including halftime. I was surprised. I think I typed in the notes at some point, like, we're up 3-0. This game is clearly ours. Why haven't we, got some of these guys out of the game and preserve them for next week? Granted, we do have 6 days between games, but still, the minutes are going to pile up. But I don't know. I mean, were you disappointed in Ralph that he waited so long to make the substitutions?
Well, for some substitutions, like Adams one, yes. But then I looked at Danny Ings' substitution, and I found it normal for him to substitute him on the 88th minute, because Ralph knows the fitness of every player, because he's been training them for all this time, and I think he knows how much every player is fit, and he also wants to give Danny Ings a chance to score goals, a lot of goals in the match. So he was 3-0 up. He thought that match could be even 4-0 or 5-0 up, and he thought that even Danny Ings could score 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 goals to earn the Golden Boot, or at least come second or third. And he also had in program Nathan Teller's substitution. So he thought Nathan Teller I could even substitute him later on, and I can give Danny Ings a better chance to score a late goal. So he has 1 goal more, and he's second in the league.
Yeah, I was quite impressed with there were a lot of people that like, as if you think about it, Ings, he's been consistent all year. There were stats flying around about him being one of the first players to score, and like, I think it's every month, and then there's this huge gap until June, because he's scored all year long for us. And as you said, 16 goals, he's tied 3rd in the league, 4 goals, and I think it moves up a little bit if you take out penalties. Because he doesn't take penalties for us. So really, really impressed with him. I know a lot of people had dropped him in their fantasy league. I don't know if you have him in your fantasy team or not.
Yeah, I do have a fantasy team, and I obviously kept him in. It was great to see him score, and that he earned so many points in the fantasy team. And because as you can see in the last matches, in the first part of the season, in the last matches before the coronavirus break, he did not manage to score that many goals in the last 3 matches, and it's great to see him back scoring.
Yeah. I think it'll do well for us, and maybe the break helped him out a little bit. I think coronavirus may have damaged his chances to get to the Euros a little bit, but if he keeps it up, maybe it's just more time to prove himself to Gareth Southgate and everybody else that he is the man that can come in and do the job, even if guys like Kane and everybody are fit. So hopefully he'll be able to work himself into that. I think it would be, obviously it's probably a goal of his to do that. because a lot of people want to play for their country and represent their country, and hopefully he can continue the guy. I just really hope he stays fit for throughout this. But if we run through the substitutions real quick, Obafemi comes off for Adams in the 82nd. Smallbone comes on for Armstrong at the same time, and then Ings comes out for Tella in the 88th. And I think people were a little bit upset about that because people waited so long. Buffal got a run out for Redmond. Kyle Walker-Peters comes on for Valerie, and I don't know. I think that will be something that we'll have to watch in terms of fitness and things like that. And as you said, Ralph definitely understands the fitness of the players, obviously better than we do. But I think if there is a spot that Ralph has opened himself up for criticism over the season, it's been his use of substitutions. And I think we've had that complaint about other people, other managers as well, when they're bringing people on and what those players that are coming on are able to do once they're on the pitch. But overall, I don't think really a lot to complain about. Norwich outpossessed us, but we play better like that, and I think Norwich is probably the team, a team like we're gonna play best against. They like to attack, they like to be open, they like to have the ball, and that allows us to press and counter. And I think it all kind of worked in our favor because they're just quite honestly, they just weren't that good. We were a lot better, and 22 shots to 9 shots on target to 1. Overall, I just don't think we can really complain about the game too much.
No, we can't. It was a great game, very entertaining.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have some listener questions here. We have quite a few. We don't necessarily have to get through all of them because I have a couple more things I want to ask you too. But Kevin McGee is one of the patrons of the show, and he asks this. One of the things that the patrons get is they get priority for having their questions answered on the show each and every week. In addition to having a group chat that we have and getting extra podcast episodes and things like that. But Kevin says, he's like, I want to comment on Emil Højbjerg. He says, give him praise for continuing to play well despite what's going on with him. With the stability and the clear quality of Ralph at the club, should he stay? So I guess, even though Højbjerg has said what he said, he was solid during the game. I think he just does what Emil Højbjerg does. And I'm fine with him not shooting because he's not that good at that. But winning the ball back, making the short pass, calming the team down. Do you think that even though he's mentioned that he wants to go, that there's still a chance he could stay, or do you think he's gone?
I think Pierre is a crucial player to our team, and he definitely, I definitely like him to stay. But as he said before, he would like to. He has a very strong relationship with the club, but he also wants to go and play for some top teams and win the Champions League. So that depends. That depends on him. Is he have to stay for another season? Which I think that would be great because he could help us at least maybe even reach the Europa League stage, because I would find it very difficult without him. And I think that.
Okay, all right. He is kind of like we talked about it earlier, but I think I'm okay if he goes. I'm okay if he stays. I'm more or less just looking at him to be committed to the team while he's here, and I think he will be. And as long as he does that, he can go up. He's allowed to want. I don't want to say better things, but he's allowed to want to play elsewhere and have a chance to play in Europe. And I think what I wrote in the newsletter earlier on Friday was, he's mentioned in the past that he was a little bit immature and wanted things too quickly. And I just wonder, he's still at the age where his big contract is not going to be this one, but the one after. And so can he still improve himself here at Southampton to kind of maximize where he gets to go next time? And I wonder if he's just being a little bit short-sighted and wanting to move now, but we'll see. As long as he's committed to the team right now, as long as he plays hard, I will be fine with it, and that'll be all right. We have a couple of other questions here. Southampton News Now, who he's doing great things on Instagram, and he also writes for the newsletter at times. He asked a question about the substitutions, which we kind of covered already. So thank you for that. Hopefully we answered your question there. His idea on it is that Ralph needs to be a little more clever with the substitution. I think he says a lot more clever with substitutions, but we kind of gave our thoughts on that. And Robbie Saint, who runs Saints World and who I think you are associated with in some way, says, what are your aims for the Saints World Twitter account for next season? So why don't you explain to us what's happening there and tell us what your plans are?
So Rob saw my latest post on the Saints FC blog, and I think he liked it because he called me up. He sent me a DM on Twitter saying, would you like to write articles on Saints World website? And I was really surprised, and I said yes. And he also came up with the idea that I could run the Twitter account. And I really liked that idea. So for the last couple of months, it's been 2 months or maybe 1.5, I've been running the Twitter account, and it's great. It's a pleasure to run it.
Yeah. Well, Robbie is one of the nicest people on Twitter, which isn't always a very nice place. There are a lot of nice Saints fans on there, but Robbie is one of those guys that has gone out of his way to be especially kind to me and I think so many others. And I think you're experiencing that as well. So that's awesome. So thanks to him for that. And so people, if they want to follow that account is also linked in the show notes. If people want to give that a follow, I'm sure most listeners already do if they're on Twitter. So that'll be there. So a couple of other ones here. Where will they finish? So we talked about fitness a little bit. Al Capone 156 says, will pundits ever stop mentioning that Leicester City game? I feel like I talk about it all the time too. Just because I feel like, if there's ever a really, like I've made a big mistake, I'll just keep saying it so that way nobody else can make fun of me for it. But do you think they'll ever stop bringing that up, or do you think that'll eventually go away? I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
I really hope that the Leicester game will be forgotten forever, because Saints happened to play that game on my birthday.
Oh no!
And, yeah.
Well, very unhappy birthday to you.
And
I'm so sorry.
And I really hope people forget about it and stop talking about it, because it makes me feel very, very unhappy. But at the same time, if I think about it, it's made the team improve a little bit and realize the mistakes they've made, and they got their confidence back, obviously, and
the team is much different than it was then. Same players, but a lot different performance and mentality, I think. And it just took a little bit of time to get that all squared away, and now everybody, I think we're heading in the right direction. On that note, Ollie _Dolan95 says, where do you think Saints will finish this season? So what's your prediction for where Saints will wind up in the table?
Well, I'd like to see them finish in 10th place, at least. I think on Twitter, I also saw some people posted that it's still possible for Saints to finish in a European spot, but it's possible, but it's very, very difficult. And the chances are very, very low, because that means Wolves and Man United and Sheffield, they all have to lose some matches, which is very unlikely for them to do so. And I'd really like them to finish in 10th place at least. It would be great, and it would show improvement compared to the other seasons, previous season.
Yeah. Well, my very best friend is an Arsenal fan, and obviously this week's going to be a little tense because they're terrible, and we need to beat them, and I think that will make me very happy. I don't know how he's going to feel about it. He doesn't listen to this show, so that's fine. So I can talk about him, and he won't ever know. but yeah, I think that chance. I mean, I'll take 12th. I'll just take 12th and move up and move on with my life. But every place of and above that, obviously, more money in terms of finishing higher in the league, and all of that means potentially more money to invest in players, which we're obviously going to need if we're going to continue to move forward. So I'll take 10th place. I'll take 12th place. I just don't want to be anywhere near a relegation scrap. I would like to be able to watch some of the younger players come into the team and have a chance to thrive and play. And that's what I want to see over the last 9 games, I guess, is our players expressing themselves and kind of us controlling games like we did in the second half, and then having a chance for some of the younger guys to come in and play with some confidence, not in a team that's, feeling down and beat down, but a team that is happy and attacking. And I think that will make the players just it takes the pressure off them, I think, as they come in and make their debuts.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have there's one more question here that I want to talk about, and then I have one more for you, and then we'll let you go because I've kept you for too long because of the computer restart that took, and it took almost an hour for that thing to happen, which really annoys me. As a former tech person, I should know better. But Ben H, who is at Ben H995, says his question is, what's the best 11 since we've been back in the Premier League? But I'm gonna slightly alter that a little bit and say, can you give me your favorite 11 since you've been watching the team? Whether it's you start whenever you want. Tell me your 11 that you would pick if you could go back from the time that you've been watching the team along with your dad.
Okay. So I'd choose Forster in goal. Fraser Forster. He's great. He's a great player, and I think it's time for him to move on now. He stayed at the club for 5 or 6 seasons, I think, and he played very well, and he's a very good keeper. Then moving on to the defense, I would choose Bertrand. He's a really great defender and excellent crossing, great touch of the ball. And it's great to see him play. Then, as 2 centre backs, I chose Fonte and Van Dijk. Fonte, he was a really good player, very solid centre back. Van Dijk, he's now the best centre back in the world, I think. He is nominated for Team of the Year every year, and it's great to see him play for Liverpool now. And it was very unhappy to see him leave, but he might not be one of the most loved ones, but he's one of the greatest players who has ever played for Southampton.
Yeah.
Then, as a right back, I chose Nathaniel Kline, who now plays for Liverpool, and his contract will run out in 2 days, which I'm happy to see that, because I thought he would get his chance with a big club, but with his injury, I don't think that helped him in any way.
Right.
And my formation is a 4-1-3-2, and moving on, I chose a central defense midfielder, and I chose Morgan Schneiderlin. He's a really great player, and even him is very. It's very sad to see him leave Everton, because Ancelotti said that he wants to get him out of his team, but he played very well for Southampton. He helped Southampton achieve promotion, and very good player. Moving on in the midfield, I put Mane, Tadic, and Ward-Prowse. Mane, he is like Van Dijk. He played for a couple of seasons for Southampton, 2 or 3 seasons, I think. And he scored a lot of goals for Saints. He also managed to achieve the fastest hat-trick in the Premier League, and it was great to have him play for the club. And he and Tadic and Pele and Van Dijk and others helped Southampton achieve the Europa League spot, which I was very happy to see. And Tadic now plays for Ajax, and he was one of the greatest players for Southampton. Ward-Prowse, one of the most loyal players Saints ever had, because he was born in Portsmouth, but all of his life, I think, he always stayed at Southampton, and he deserves the captain's armband. And in attack, I put Pella and Lambert. Pella, the Italian striker, and I particularly remember the day when I went to see my first match for Southampton live, which was Southampton 8-0 against Sunderland, and it was great to see him play, and I managed to take a photo with him, and it was great to have part of the team. And then Ricky Lambert, he is one of the greatest players of Southampton, I think. He helped Southampton achieve promotion back to the Premier League, and he was really great to see. He was the first player I've had on the back of my on the back of a Saints shirt, and great to see him play.
All right. So you saw the Sunderland 8-0.
Yeah, first match ever I ever saw football.
Well, why don't you go to more? Because when I went, it didn't go well. I think I was talking to a couple of people that said, their first match was a 3-0 defeat, and that was mine too. So you should go more often. And hopefully, if Saints get into the Europa League or something like that at some point, you're able to go to all of the European games, because we could use your help. The Italian players that have come through and played for Southampton, I absolutely love Graziano Pella. I just think he's a beautiful human being and a beautiful footballer. But Gabbiadini also didn't quite have the same success, I would say, that Pella did. Not maybe remembered as fondly, but did have that big goal for against Swansea that we obviously kept us in the Premier League that season, or at least helped as Swansea kind of relegated themselves. And now Yoshida's over there in the playing in Serie A. But do you pay attention to them that they're over there? And Pella's obviously in China, but do you watch them or keep in touch with how they're doing, or do you kind of just focus on the Saints that are the Saints now and that's it?
I obviously follow more Saints at the moment. But I always view their profile on Twitter, see what's new with them and everything, because it's always great to see players what they're doing now, and
All right. Well, Bene, I mean, do you have anything else you want to cover before we kind of wrap this up? I've kept you for entirely too long on Father's Day, so tell your dad I'm sorry.
No problem.
All right.
I'd like to say that anyone who didn't realize on my blog, I published a week ago a lot of polls, and I managed to, thanks to everyone's help, especially Rob's and my dad's help, we managed to complete Saints' greatest lineup of all time, and it was great to see.
Okay, I will link to that in the show notes if people want to make it a little easier to check out. And people can find it. It's the saintsfcblog.wixsite.com. But the link is down there. You have the Twitter account that is the Saints FC blog. You have your Twitter account, which is Italian Saint. Like, the fact that you got that Twitter account, congratulations, because those things don't exist. I mean, it's just straight Italian Saint. There's no weird, X's or anything else. You just got it. So congratulations to you for that. Don't ever let it go, because you'll never get it back. But Ben, I just want to say thanks so much for coming on the show. I enjoyed talking to you. I'm excited for the blog. I'm excited for the rest of the season, obviously, and I look forward to hopefully doing this again in the future.
Great, thank you.
All right. Well, we will talk to you soon. And Arsenal on Thursday, obviously. I guess last thing before you go, what's your prediction for that one?
I predicted 2-1 victory for Southampton.
All right. I'm with that. My friend Josh will not be happy, but he's an Arsenal fan, so it doesn't matter. He's used to being disappointed. So we'll talk to you soon, and thank you so much. And that does it for this week's episode of the Southampton Delivery Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us. I hope that you've enjoyed it. Special thanks this week goes out to Bene, Holley, who is on Twitter at Italian Saint and at the Saints FC blog. He's also running the Twitter account for Saints FC World. So you can get links to all of those things in the show notes. Be sure to check out his blog and enjoy it. While you're following him on social media, if you'd like to give this show a follow, you can do that. We are at SFCDELL_IVERY on both Twitter and Instagram. We're also on Facebook at facebook.com/SFC Delivery. Easiest way to do that and sign up for the newsletter and get links to the show wherever you listen is to go to the show website, southamptondelivery.com. Once again, links to that in the show notes. Make everything nice and easy. The partners of the show are back on Instagram at Southampton Page 1. Be sure to stay up to date with everything going on around the club at Southampton Page 1. They will keep you informed. They're also on Twitter at Southampton Page. So give them a follow and you will be kept up to date with everything going on at Southampton. The logo for the show is done by Matt Beeling of the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. For all your matchday edits, polls, competitions, and more, be sure to check out the We Are Southampton page on Instagram. The music for the show comes courtesy of the Free Music Archive at freemusicarchive.org. The intro song is Epic Song by Boxcat Games, and the end of show credits that you're listening to right now is Aim is True by Poddington Bear. The Saints are back in action on Thursday night against Arsenal, so we can only hope that things continue both for us and them as they are currently going. And we'll wrap all that up in the newsletter. We'll talk a little bit about it on the next episode, and patrons of the show should expect something on the Arsenal match after the final whistle. So I look forward to doing all that. I'll talk to you next time. Thanks again for listening. And, just like everything else, hopefully we knock the cobwebs off and we'll get into some free-flowing conversation on the next episode. Special thanks again to Bene. If you want to follow him, once again, Italian Saint and at the Saints FC blog. That's it for now. Talk to you next time. And until then, remember that together, we march on. He's also the author of the Saints FC blog, and we talk about that. What? What are you doing? I'm going to go to the bathroom. Okay.